Welcome to Level Up Academy podcast, where we explore the diverse set of skills that can be applied across various industries and professions. Each episode will deep dive into the world of transferable skills, discussing topics like communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and more. Join us as we speak with experts in different fields and share stories of individuals who have successfully transferred their skills from one industry to another. Whether you're a recent grad, a mid-career professional, or someone looking to make a career change, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's discover how you can leverage your existing skills to excel in any industry. Welcome to Level Up Academy podcast. This is your host, Dr. Leland, a serial educator, an opportunities designer, and a compassionate leader. Oh, sorry. I was still dancing on my music. I was just dancing on Selena Gomez. I was like, woo, today was it was a really good morning, by the way. It was like at 6 a.m. and I was on LinkedIn. I'm having issues with LinkedIn messaging, like messages I can't find or whatever. And I was like panicking. And when I was on LinkedIn, I usually don't go in that early, but I saw Lachelle, America's Supermom, was on live. And I'm like, oh, interesting conversation, I'm sure. So I went there while I was brushing my teeth, making breakfast for my daughter for going to school. And that really got me going and thinking about life and what I'm preaching. And also I got to think about what Paul said yesterday. It's easy to give advice to people, but when you're taking your own advice, it's very hard. And you're like, why are you not moving? Why are you not listening? And you're thinking, yeah, because it's hard. I mean, you can't even do it on your own, right? So I've been trying to apply what I tell people and what I tell my students and what I tell my daughters. And started this morning and I love it. It was like 6 something in my morning at Pacific Standard Time. I have a special guest today. I know I say special guest, but seriously, the more I know this person, we've been connected for a good maybe 2 months. And I actually got to know him a little bit more and what he does. And I wish that my mental capacity could grasp what he does. And it's very exciting. It actually inspired me to be more outdoors yesterday. Like, you have no idea what people can say to you that influence you and ignite that fire in your belly. And this guest of mine did that yesterday. He doesn't even know it. I haven't told him yet. I haven't talked to him since yesterday. So I'll definitely will tell him. I have a couple of things I wanted to also show. I had a couple of messages from new contacts that I have. Thank you so much for sending your connection. I'm always open to connection and also coffee chat. But I wanted to actually address, a lot of people are like, okay, well, what do you do exactly? And who are you exactly? I want to get to know you. So for those of you who are my new connections, I'm going to go over a little bit about what I do outside of being a professor. And this is something that I'm super passionate about. So I have a podcast, Level Up Academy, or Level Up for Higher Education Edition. And people are like, well, I'm not in higher ed. How can I be in your podcast? Listen, it started at Level Up Higher Education because I was a dean of a university. And most of my, probably the first 10 interviews is usually my students and my faculty. After that, I have SEO, I have authors, I have travelers, I have coaches, I have hypnotists from yesterday. I love Stephanie. I hope you guys will be team replay. But literally, when I shifted my thought on what can I do to level up everybody, right, in the world. And that's a big claim. Leveling up the world is a huge claim. There's like 7 point something billion people, right? I'm never going to catch all of them, but I'm trying to catch the ones who are wanting to level up themselves. You cannot make people change. You cannot do anything to people you can't control. They control themselves. However, for those of you who wants to level up, please be on my boat. Help other people. Let's connect. Let's create a positive community that you're always moving forward. So that is my podcast. It is actually separate from LinkedIn, and I'll talk that about a little bit. This is the map that I'm in right now, and obviously China's in there somewhere. They're not letting anybody in China. So you see, so these are, we have 193 nations and countries, and I'm on 63. So I have a long ways to go. Thank you so much for those of you who are listening to this. And you're probably wondering, well, what does the live LinkedIn do for me if you're a business owner, if I'm highlighting you? What it does is I can pick and choose if I want your audio to actually, so LinkedIn, I only have like what, 3,000 networks, right? So the live will be seen by 3,000 networks here in LinkedIn, but it depends on if you share our information, how valuable your information are sharing. I extrapolate that audio and then I submit it to all of these 63 nations and countries who are listening to us. So that's how it works. I also put your and highlight your information on my website. That's luaby.leland.com. And I also have my distribution channel, YouTube. This is my guest today. Okay. And then obviously, I am featured on LA Weekly. So that's another readership that people have, that people are listening to. And then, of course, my magazine for Shout Out DFW, there's also readership there. I am on babyboomer.org, which is another distribution channel. That is, all of my podcast also goes there automatically. And then, of course, FeedSpot. I'm also on FeedSpot. And on top of all of what I just mentioned to you, all of the audio that I will submit, if I pick and choose your audio to go out to the world, it will go through all of these. So Apple Podcasts, Google, Pandora, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeart, Deezer, RSS, Listen Notes, Podcast Index, Samsung, Amazon Music, and obviously Spotify. So you're wondering, like, where am I going to go with all of my information? This is going to all of these and all of these on the left-hand side. And you're like, well, what does it matter? It's not about a popularity contest. It's about your content. If you have such a good content, but no one hears it, if it's in the cave, right? It doesn't matter how wonderful you are and how good you are if we don't shout out to the world. So that's what I'm doing. I am highlighting, establishing myself so I can highlight you so that more people can know about you and your purpose. Okay. And that is actually good for your SEO if you're in marketing, because all the backlinks, all the names that are mentioned to you, then it goes to Google and you'll be the popular person. That's what I'm trying to do, like push you out there in the world. And I forgot I am also on Speaker Hub. So that's where my podcast is going. And I will go ahead and stop this information. And then we'll move on to, of course, an affirmation for 40 affirmation really quickly to start us off. Okay. Let me go ahead and present another share screen with you. And I want to just read it because it's kind of small. The first one is, I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Okay, by Louis Hay. Conscious breathing is my anchor. Thich Nhat Hanh. You are loved just for being who you are, just for existing. Ram Dass. The chance to love and be loved exists no matter where you are. Oprah. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Brene Brown. Make way for the unprecedented and watch your reality rearrange itself. Yersa Delay Ward. Open your heart and drink in this glorious day. Heather Havrilinski. Am I good enough? Yes, I am. Michelle Obama. The perfect moment is this one. John Kabat-Zinn. I am deliberate and afraid of nothing. Audre Lorde. Your life is about to be incredible. Tim Story. Who you are inside is what helps you make and do everything in life. Mr. Rogers. Your perspective is unique, it's important, and it counts. Glenn Close. Every day above earth is a good day. Yes, amen to that one. Ernest Hemingway. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. Maya Angelou. You must do things you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt. The secret of attraction is to love yourself. Deepak Chopra. Good riddance to decisions that don't support self care, self value, and self worth. Oprah. I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. Muhammad Ali. I say looking at the bright side of life never killed anybody. Jenny Han. I'm better than I used to be, better than I was yesterday, but hopefully not as good as I will be tomorrow. Marianne Williamson. I have never ever focused on the negative of things. I always look at the positive. Sonia Sotomayor. I'm giving you permission to root for yourself, and while you're at it, root for those around you too. Amen to that one. Mindy Kaling. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Martin Luther King Jr. Your life is already a miracle, a chance waiting for you to shape its destiny. Toni Morrison. If you really think small, your world will be small. If you think big, your world will be big. Paulo Coelho. Embrace the glorious mess that you are. Elizabeth Gilbert. The ultimate truth of who you are is not I am this or I am that, but I am. Eckhart Tolle. Gratitude is a celebration we are all invited to. Cleo Wade. We must be willing to let go of the life we plan so that as to have the life that it is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell. Nothing is impossible. The world itself says, I'm possible. Audrey Hepburn. I love that quote. The only courage you ever need is the courage to fulfill the dreams of your own life. Another one from Oprah. Failure is just another way to learn how to do something right. Marianne Wright Edelman. The emotion that can break your heart is sometimes the very one that heals it. Nicholas Sparks. Your crown has been brought and paid for. Put it on your head and wear it. Maya Angelou. Everything passes if you learn to hold things lightly. Another Oprah. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Hold up your head. You are not made for failure. You were made for victory. Anne Gilchrist. If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely. Roald Dahl. And the very last one, William Shakespeare. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Ooh, that was a lot, right? I know, 40. Holy moly. So, without further ado, I'm going to let me find my drum roll. Good exercise for your head. Oh, that was good one. We need a Simba. I don't have that one. Michael, how are you?
Was moving around with all those quotes. It's great to be here. I have two quotes for you to start the show. Two quotes,
Yes.
two my own quotes. The first one is from Paramahansa Yogananda, the first yogi in the West. I memorized this, I don't know, about 20 some odd years ago. Since you are responsible for your own thoughts, only you can change them. You will want to change them once you realize that each thought creates according to its own nature. Remember, the law works at all times, and you are demonstrating according to the kind of thoughts that you habitually entertain. Therefore, start now to think only those thoughts that will bring you peace and happiness. So Paramahansa Yogananda, the first yogi in the West. The second one's from one of my favorite authors, John Muir, the most loquacious writer, full of words, and he goes on, but I love him. The late John Muir. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. John Muir. And with that, here I am. It's great to be here. Excited about it. Thanks for this opportunity. It's just I was backstage just doing all types of dances. I was doing
You're
jumping.
like dancing. You're like dancing too.
There's a lot of those,
I was wondering.
recognize, and those different authors and just some pronounced people, either that are alive today or that just really made a difference, right? By standing up and getting their voice out there and living from their passions and not being afraid to step out there in the world. So many of those authors you mentioned are, yeah, just great stuff. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I needed that. I needed all of it. And Samantha, I know that's you, LinkedIn user. Samantha, my sister from another mother in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Literally, it's early, and I think Timothy might be here too. My brother from Australia, right? um, oh, I she actually posted this early morning a bunch of quotes as well about being in the past, and I actually was moved by that. I'm like, hey, you know what? I will highlight that definitely, because I think sometimes when we're on that slump, this week has been a crazy week for me so far. I can't believe it's already Thursday. I'm like, wait, I need grading. I have to do grading really quickly. You know what I mean? Like, I'm up really late lately and trying to process my own thoughts and trying to see, okay, CJ, are you grounded? Are you okay? Like, I'm literally asking myself that. And my daughter yesterday, she's like, Mom, since you've been talking to your other self, and I'm like, what do you mean? Your other self? And she's like, I've heard you. I've heard you talk to your other self. I'm like, I'm not crazy. I swear. I'm going through this coach practitioner for cognitive behavior therapy, and I'm trying to remove my thoughts and emotions separately because I'm an emotional person. If something moves me and I get angry, you'll see it. If I'm quiet, I'm actually angry. It's really weird. And
Okay.
yeah, but when I'm happy, I talk a lot. And when I'm sad and happy at the same time, I cry. I don't know why, but it is what it is. And so those quotes kind of keep me grounded and said, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. Stop controlling it. Just go with the flow. Like seriously, I tell everyone go with the flow, but I don't go with my own flow. I'm like, yeah, no, CJ, you can't do that. And my daughter's like, yeah, I heard you. Your other self was really grounded, Mom. I was like, ooh, maybe she thinks I'm schizo today. But I want to know about you. And we have a lot of connections together, right? But we know little bits and pieces, and hopefully we can get to know Michael Gayle today. So let's start with who is Michael Gayle and go back 20 years of your life and how you got here today, sir.
20 years of my life. Okay. 20 years. 20 years. I am 47, 37, 27. Okay. I was still in the Marines. All right. I'll go back. How about we just go back 30 years?
Yeah, sure.
Like 30, I'll make it quick. So I signed up for the Marine Corps my senior year of high school, delayed entry. So that September, it was 1993. I was at Cherry Street in Philadelphia at MEPS and went through all the different physical, and you had to do a certain amount of pull-ups, certain amount of this, and you took what's called an ASVAB test uh, to see if you can even qualify for the Marines. I mean, the ASVABs have to be the highest in the Marine Corps and the Air Force. So it's like, okay, well, did well with that, that pull-ups, no problem. Everything else that they tested out from a physical. So I made that decision to go into the Marine Corps, and that was like at that time in my life, the single best decision that I made. Went to boot camp right after graduation, late August of 1994, and Parris Island, South Carolina. And it was in Parris Island during basic warrior training at third phase, a third month of training where they have simulated war, where I was climbing down this 60-foot water tower, so rappelling. And I just zipped down the water tower. Is no big deal. Easy peasy, right? Like I did it before as a kid. And I got down at the bottom there's 4 drill instructors we had. And the hard drill instructor, which is his life job, is to make our life a living hell. I said, sir, this recruit requests permission to do it again. I mean, I was giddy. I was pumped. Now, mind you, there's other people that were doing it that were scared. They're hesitant to go off backwards from this 60-foot water tower, but I was pumped. And I said, this recruit requests permission to do it again. He's like, Gayle, get back in line. He's like, get back in line. So my point and why I mentioned the story early on is that even the most serious situations and the most serious people that I've run into, the people with the most training, whether other Marines or Navy SEALs or Force Recon Marines and Green Berets, etc., boxers, pro boxers, they involve humor into their everyday. Because the most serious people I've found, the most intense people, tend to be the most calm people under most circumstances. Now, I'm excitable, I'm passionate, yeah. But for the most part, I go outside, I'm calm. I just observe, I take it in, I appreciate. I'm like, this is great, life is good. I'm so thankful. And at that moment, I got down, like I said, I got down to the bottom, and I got yelled at because I was so excited, and that was so against what the Marines, they wanted me to be like, okay, you get done and you go and do this. But I dared to break that mold. I dared to do something a little bit different, which just says that even in the most fearful or scary situations, if we involve humor, if we're open to just being kind to ourselves and just enjoying the ride, there's just so much more to explore in life. So that one instance in the Marines, which then carried on to my civilian life. I worked for the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons Hotel, and the Ritz-Carlton in particular, as a waiter, really shaped my life because it's polishing school, right? I went to work in a tuxedo. I mean, the tuxedo was ready for me. I picked it up. I just knew all pressed tuxedo.
Fancy.
All I had to do was push my, put
Yeah.
my up. But it was like this idea, right? And 5 interviews to get in there. But we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. I'm like, how cool is that to be part of that whole deal? There's people of, celebrities that come in, but the idea is that we come in to work every day to give the best of ourselves, excellence, because we care, because we're passionate, because we want to give the best experience each and every time. So that changes, that gets better as we grow. I'm like, how cool is it to be part of a group of people at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in that environment to foster that sort of deal? And then, the training was intense. Like I said, it was
Yeah.
like college school, but I loved it. It's something that, like the Marine Corps, it stuck with me. So you have like your yin and yang, right? You got that hardcore, this Marines, and then you have the Ritz-Carlton, which softens me up a little bit. Okay, this is how you set up a
Like,
banquet.
hello, madam. Would you like your champagne today?
No, it was good. It's authentic, though. I messed around early on. I was doing banquets, and there's some of the stuff, and I didn't know everything on there. There's goat cheese, this, and it's all nice and pretty stuff. And I that first month or so, I played around a little bit. I said, good evening, mom. So,
You're like, would you like your charcuterie tonight?
and blah 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 blah. And I was just having fun, respectful, and then that stopped, and I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore. Just have fun with your job, but don't go get
Don't go off too much, right? Yeah.
So it was the Marines and the Ritz-Carlton, and then I went to school. I started out at community college and focused on science. Got involved with student government. Had the volunteers, so we went out and cleaned the area parks up, and community service chair. So that was just a great opportunity. And then I went on, graduated there, and went to 4-year school, focused in on biology. Changed to kinesiology, and then had an intern set up with the Philadelphia Eagles football team. I was headed in that direction, and then made a decision to move to Minnesota. So at that point, it was a phone call that I got. I was going to be a dad. And I said, okay, let's move to Minnesota, and transferred to the University of Minnesota, major kinesiology, and decided that I wanted to work for the Minnesota Vikings. Like, I had no connections with the Minnesota Vikings. So I just decided. So I connected with a classmate of mine, and he said, yeah, my name is sports psych. He said, my name is so-and-so. I work for the Vikings. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So after class, I walked to his physics class, and I talked to him for 4 times. And I just want an opportunity to get up there and prove myself. I've had all this experience in personal training. This is back 20 years ago or so. And he said, yeah, we'll give you an opportunity. He said, this is the strength coach, talked to him and blah, blah, blah. And so I talked to him, got on board with the Vikes at $7 an hour. So I worked when some of the Corey Stringer, I believe, he had an incident that was the summer camp after I worked for them. He collapsed on the field. And to make a long story short, I'm watching these guys on TV. I'm like, yeah, I'm working with these guys. Cool. And then I worked for a place called the Marsh, which is a phenomenal facility. It's not around anymore in Minnesota. It's kind of the East meets West. Tai Chi, Qigong meets, personal training and physical therapy. So the long and the skinny is I got all these opportunities for these high, interesting places, right? Hard to get into, which just gave me tons of experience. And I took that experience, went in, started my studio for 10 years. And then 4 years in, got an opportunity to lead venture trips around the world. And that continued for about 4.5 years. So there's like one opportunity after the other, after the other, after the other. And I just went after it fearlessly. Yes, it had certainly goosebumps or there was some fear there, but it didn't stop me. And, all that experience where it comes out to today at 47 years old, I have a company called Gayle Outdoor Adventures, Michael and Gayle Outdoor Adventures. And the whole gist of it, the purpose of the company is to encourage people to join forces with the outdoors at some capacity for life. So to get outdoors and move, whether it's they're skiing, they're hiking, they're climbing, they're boating, whatever they want to do that excites them, but get outdoors and to fall in love with fitness, some sort of fitness, any movement, anything where you're moving for life. So because I've had these experiences, I've traveled a good part of the world. I've seen polar bears up close. I've sailed to Antarctica. I just have a different viewpoint on what's possible, right? As far as travel, as far as adventure, as far as what the body can do. I mean, people say, well, as I get older, I get weaker. I'm getting, waking up and I'm old. Stop telling yourself you're old. Stop saying that. Start investing and make the decision here today to focusing on your health, that you're going to get younger. You're going to get younger because you've made yourself a priority. This is number one. You make yourself number one, there's no limit to the things that you can do. And at 47 years old, I have the energy of a 25-year-old. How cool is that?
Very cool, I think. Wait, is this your website, right? This is the website?
Yeah, so it's www.mgayle outdoor outdoor adventures.com. So again, that the gist is really to get people to fall in love with fitness and the outdoors for life via outdoor, fitness, climbing, going actually on trips, me helping the lead trips or leading trips, just me, Pilates, martial arts, potentially can throw in martial arts into it if they like martial arts, personal training. So weight.
I like Tai Chi.
Right?
Chi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about Pilates, right? Because you had a class on Monday and you told me you're going to have another class in a month. And I think a lot of people, when they don't know something, they get really stressed out and said, nah, it's not for me, right? They decide in themselves without trying sometimes that it's not for them. So how does practicing Pilates affect physical health, and how does that impact anybody with like anxiety or just getting out there or just getting to know like what is Pilates exactly?
Yeah, so Pilates is a system like yoga. There's different from yoga, but it's based, one of the pillars, that the fundamental things that led to Pilates. One, yoga. Another one is gymnastics. Another is boxing. So the guy that started it in the 1920s, Joseph Pilates, is a boxer. And the other one is trapeze. So if you think of the person that's swinging back and forth in the circus, the guy that catches people, that's the trapeze. So all involve fluidity, all involve just a tremendous amount of core strength, a tremendous amount of fitness, a tremendous amount of focus, laser focus. You think of boxers, they're not brawlers. I know because I trained in it. Boxers are about, technique and about fluidity and about being able to move, strike and move. Gymnasts are about flowing, they're circling up and down. It's about form, and about the land. Everything is so precise and focused. Just think about the focus of a gymnast. Trapeze, I mean, they have to be focused, they have to have timing, there has to be fluidity. uh you know yoga is a very flowing movement, depending on what type of yoga it is. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. So what is Pilates? Pilates is a system, a movement that lengthens, strengthens, tones, will help you to focus in on that. Here's the main takeaway of Pilates: it helps to make you aware of your patterning, your actual movement pattern. Everybody has a certain movement pattern. Most of us don't realize we have it. And you say, well, why do I even care about my movement pattern? Because there's certain things. It could be that your hip that's been bugging you for years, and then it goes away and then it starts bugging you again. It could be a knee, it could be lower back, it could be neck and shoulders. When you start having literal pain points and things that have been there and then haven't gone away, and you run into something like Pilates that can actually help you fix that, and then to create a new pattern that is right for you, that one's up or two's up, three's up, 500% your movement. Well, that puts you in a category now where you can take that, the gist of that, your movement pattern, and then bring that into any other movement that you choose to do for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if you do yoga, you do Tai Chi, Qigong, if you do martial arts, if you do rock climbing, whatever it is that excites you, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, you have this ingrained, this trained pattern of feel. You just know what is correct and it isn't correct. So for example, say I was climbing up a mountain, the 14,000 foot mountain, and I got to a certain, I'm at 13,000 feet, and there's some loose rock, and I'm stepping on from one rock to the other, and this one rock just slips out. And rather than fall flat on my face, my training in Pilates, it's based on proprioception or feel. I'm able to catch myself and save myself from destroying my shoulders, destroying my neck, falling back and getting knocked out. So it's like you think of a cat that falls from, 10 feet up or 15 feet or a
Yeah.
couple of stories, they land on their feet. It's not going to guarantee you're going to land on your feet, but it's going to give you a heightened sense of awareness that otherwise you wouldn't have, that proprioception. So in other words, if you were blindfolded and you walked around the neighborhood blindfolded, that's proprioception. It's another form of vision. So when I was in tracking training, I'm a tracker and survivalist through Tom Brown, which is a Apache inspired Native American program. And I went through this one course where I was in a breechcloth. So just like a little cloth covering my goods, and I was fully camoed. No, this is in Jersey, in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, with Tom Brown.
Okay.
So if you look up Tom Brown, TOMBROWN, like Charlie Brown Jr., you'll see. But the guy is amazing. He trains a lot of special forces. Like, they go to him for additional training. It's amazing. So to make the long story short, I put swamp mud all over my body. I had this little tiny breechcloth on. I had leaves that were stuck to my face. I had white ash from the campfire to lighten up my face because we were in, it was sand. I had to blend in with the sand and perfectly blend in with that surrounding. So they had us all lined up. There's like 120 of us at nighttime, and there's a little fire trail, and we're facing the woods. And they said, "Here's the deal. There's a couple instructions. Do not crash through the woods because you will get hurt." And I'll explain what crash means in a little bit. And they said, just take your time and listen to the drum beat. And that was it. There's no rush. There's no destination. Just let us out. Okay. Are you ready? So I'm completely blindfolded, facing the woods, and go. First drum beat. Boom. I went off. And the first thing I thought about was the Pilates training. So I was in the stocks, and my knees were bent, and they were right above, my hands were right above my knees. And I hit the heel my right foot, and I turn to the outside of the foot, then the inside of the foot, and then I transfer the weight, put all that weight on that right foot, and then transferred it over to the left. So lifted that left foot up and did the same thing. Heel, outside, inside. So I came upon all types of sticker bushes I had to go around. There was branches coming over top. I had to come down and up and around and to clear them versus trying to go through them and break the branches. There were logs on the ground I had to step up over. So I would do it nice and quietly, softly. I'd hit a log with my toe and I'd back up a little bit and then place the foot down and then try it again. Lift up that
Wait,
foot over the log. So this is
you're
completely wrong.
blindfolded, right?
Yeah.
You're
In
still
dense woods, when there's 120 other people that are listening to a drum beat that was initially, it was once every 30 seconds, and it was at once every minute and a half, once every 2 minutes. So there's a point to the story, right? But this is like special op like training.
yeah.
They don't call it special op training, but the fact of the matter is the skills that you get from this are
Yeah.
very helpful skills to have. And the essence is that I was out there for an hour and a half, and I just listened to Tom Brown, what he said. And I stepped out, didn't know I stepped out of the woods, but I heard crackling. I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like there's a fire going here. And someone placed their hand on my shoulder. They said, sit down. So I sat down, cross-legged, facing the fire, and said, take your blindfold off. So I took my blindfold off. There was a couple people there. That was it. And I was like, what happened to the other people? Where the heck
What
they
happened
at?
to the rest of the 120? Yeah.
I
They didn't
listened
make
in,
it.
and all you heard is this loud crashing. Like there's like branches being broken, and there's people tripping and falling, and ow! Like
That would be
everyone-
me. I'm looking at Mike. He's like, that's one giant cat. And I'm laughing my butt off in here. I'm like, imagine me, Mike, Johanna, Raquel, Samantha on blindfolded. I don't know which one of us would survive first. We'd be like, Michael, wait for us. Let's just hold hands. Don't leave me. Yeah, that would be so amazing.
I got there and I'm like, where's everyone else at? And then, you're listening in, and it's like, okay, well, these people didn't listen. They're trying to compete. They're trying to be the first place and to get someplace. And there wasn't even a place to get to. I didn't know there was a destination. So there's a couple points that, making that story. First off, when I was blindfolded, there's a few things that I was thinking of. First off, lower my center of gravity. I learned that from wrestling and jujitsu, right? Lower center of gravity is almost always better, especially for a big guy like myself. You can flip pretty easily, no matter how big you are, if your center of gravity's up. Second, I focused in on my breathing. So Pilates breathing laterally through the sides and back of the rib cage. That helped to relax me. So I didn't focus on the anxiety of what if this or what if that. I quieted all that internal dialogue and just focused on the present, where I was. Anything that came in, oh, well, you can't know. It's no, I can't do it. It's focusing a streamline, like walking a tightrope over Niagara Falls. It was focused in on where I was at a particular time. So it was meditation at the extreme. And the other thing I was focused on is a third eye. Now I never really worked on third eye before, and I'm like, okay, this seems kind of hokey, but in that moment, I felt like a presence right in the middle of my forehead. Now it's nighttime and I was blindfolded, so I'm trying to get some sense of where to go. And the only thing I have is the feeling of my feet against the ground. And of course, if there's a branch coming across my face, I can duck and go around it. But it was like, it gave me a sense between my eyes here of where to go directionally with sound, but also in relation to other people that were around me. I had a heightened sense. So I just listened into that. Now, I've never did that before, but I found that worked for me. And the long and skinny is got out of the woods, sat at the campfire. There's 5 people. I was one of 5 that made it to the campfire. And this was an advanced level course. So Pilates, the whole idea of being able to feel yourself blindfolded, again, without eyesight, is a type of the visual system.
Yeah.
And it's something that Pilates teaches. So you learn without a mirror. You don't have to be in a mirror and know good form. You learn good form by feel. By feel, you know whether it's correct or not. Therefore, if you're in a situation to where it's potentially dangerous, you're climbing a mountain, say you're skiing, you're doing anything activity wise, your body's going to tell you whether or not it's safe to continue, when to stop, to avoid injury. So you got to listen to your body.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole big part of it. Is it, Pilates is about building awareness. So all these things that cross over with tracking, that cross over with martial arts, about awareness and the chi and the centeredness and fluidity, and about the neuromuscular patterning, which you didn't. I've taught yoga instructors, top level yoga instructors. Yoga is great. I love it. But Pilates, if you want a system that's going to be able to take you from where you're at now and keep you moving for the rest of your life, and doing it safely, and something you can teach to people that you love, which I encourage every one of my clients to do, Pilates is the game for it. And you have to be focused. It is like walking that tightrope across Niagara Falls. In Pilates as a system, it's meditation, right? So you're in present. You're flowing from one movement to the next, and you're where you're at. You're not off thinking about the text or the LinkedIn chat and who's texted you and this or that. You're there for that hour and you're present. Now, I found that that's very similar to being outdoors. And the reason I love the outdoors is because for me, it's about appreciation. It's about being present. Everything else stops. All that other stuff flowing through, all that stuff that the world wants, all the things that say, okay, well, Michael Gayle, you're just not good enough. You didn't do well today. I wanted you to get X done and you only got 3 out of 4 things done. No, that stops. And I think everyone needs time, especially people that have served our country, that have been in combat. They need time to just quiet down. I think that's why many service people, I'm not speaking for all of them, they slow down with alcohol consumption or other types of things that slow that fast-paced environment that they've trained in, wartime especially, down. And all I'm suggesting, not just for people that served in war, but anyone that wants to slow down this fast-paced environment that we're in, at some point, it will take us apart in pieces. And there'll be a piece of us over here,
all
a
over
piece
the
over
place.
here, on the ceiling.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is for people to get outdoors, to get themselves back to their center, back to their best. Look at themselves and say, hey, man, or hey, lady, you're wonderful. What a beautiful scenery. How blessed am I that I'm around, I'm alive right now. I am so thankful. And to be in that sort of mindset, that's huge. Mindset. I believe we're in control of that. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of hard work, but we're in control of that. And I've been gifted with an ability to appreciate those things. So it's like, well, why wouldn't I encourage people to get outside and to help them to be the best versions of themselves and falling in love with some sort of the outdoors? They don't have to love the certain flowers that I love. They don't have to love the water if they don't love water, but they might like other things about it. And then because of that focus in on the abundance of things, that their life and the trajectory of their life changes. I'm suggesting or encouraging people to be open to the possibilities, that with a focus of one's mindset, that on something that's going to be, that they can improve. Time and time
I agree.
It's a practice, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I was talking about today. I think most of us are, we want this. I'm the worst of the getting all the certifications and getting all the degrees, but you have to know me, who I am as a person, and my own trauma, why I'm like that. But I don't see that like other people. For me, it's all about the mindset. Like, in order for me to help others, I have to deep dive on what I'm talking about, because it's a disservice to people who are listening to me, who are my students, if I'm not doing my due diligence to actually really not just look at surface knowledge, but digging deep. Like you went in and certified yourself. You went in and did it yourself. You went in and literally go outdoors yourself and said, hey, it is possible. I'm not just talking about it. I've been there, right? So my other question is, how does Pilates actually different than yoga, and how does that help with anxiety? Because a lot of people have anxiety right now. We're not going to eliminate anxiety. It's part of our life, but how do you reduce anxiety through the use of Pilates? And what's the difference between Pilates and yoga?
Yeah. So the big difference, and I mentioned that the big difference is what I see in yoga, and I love yoga. I do. There's all different types of yoga. But all in all, I love yoga. First off, the Pilates isn't going to have there's not going to be a corpse pose at the end where we're focused in on X. There's no kind of any religious component to it whatsoever. Hindu component to it. Pilates is it's breath centered like yoga. The big difference is that we're focused in on learning through proprioception, so by feel. So an instance would be if you were doing mat Pilates. So there's mat like yoga, there's mat, and there's also equipment. That's another difference. So Pilates has mat, you're on the mat, and then there's equipment. The reformer is the most popular piece of equipment, but there's also the Cadillac, there's the chair, there's the barrel. And the equipment, what the equipment does, the purpose of it is to help people to be able to feel what they need to feel faster. So when I was in first grade or kindergarten, I was learning A, capital A. So I'd have on the yellow piece of paper, it was like A. And then across the dotted lines, it was that. And then I practiced A 20 times or 30 times. And then I did small A. So I could do it. And we all can do it now without even thinking about it with our eyes closed. We can do A, we can do big A, small A, B, C. Yeah. Well, the point is that it's the same thing with these neuromuscular patterns. You're learning these patterns with your shoulders, with your hips, how to twist, how to side bend and then rotate. And you're doing all that by feel. So if you're in a hypermobility, there's a lot of people that I work with that their elbows bend backwards, their knees bend backwards, and they're not aware of it. They've done yoga before. Again, yoga's great, but they're not aware of it. So what happens is they put all that pressure in their elbow, which eventually feeds into their neck. And the integrity of that elbow then is vulnerable. The same thing with the hips, with hypermobility, extra mobility in the hips. As an example, that person then becomes vulnerable to having a hip replacement. Pilates, it's imperative that you have the mobility or the flexibility and the stability together. And you only go with the range of motion. This is a rule that you're able to stabilize. So for example, say I was doing a movement where I was in tabletop and I'm straightening the legs, and then all of a sudden my ribs pop up. And we know that in Pilates, as a beginner student, you don't want your ribs to pop, because if you lose this connection with that deepest layer of abdominal muscle, then it ends up filtering into your lower back and your mid back, not where you want it. So at that point, you either stop the exercise or you'd modify it, not bring your legs out and diagonal away from the body. You would probably keep them closer to the body. There's things you could do it to make it so it was specific for you at that particular time. So again, you do the exercises. It sounds complex, but you do the exercise or the movements that you can stabilize. That's key. So you don't go beyond where you're at a particular time. It doesn't mean you couldn't do more next week, but it's not reps in Pilates to do reps. It's reps to get better and better, clean up that movement. Each subsequent rep is about cleaning it up. You throw a rock in a pond or in a lake, and you see those ripple effects. There's circles in Pilates, of course, circumduction it's called. Focus on something smaller and master the movement first. It's like a martial arts. You'll get a white belt, and then you go on and in certain martial arts, it's orange, yellow, and orange and green, or whatever it is. The point is you advance once you demonstrate that you're able to, you have an understanding of this, the basics. Same thing in Pilates. You're not going to advance yourself and go on and do more difficult stuff unless you're able to stabilize that, unless there's strength there. And if you're doing a movement where it's shaky, then
Mhm.
you lost your stability. So everything, again, is based on feel of movement, and you learn what is correct versus not correct. There's lots of people that come to me. They have scoliosis, they have osteopenia,
Yeah,
some
that's
have
me.
osteoporosis. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just a lot of special populations. I've worked with people with shoulders injuries and neck injuries and lower back injuries, and frankly, that's one of the reasons that encouraged me to get in Pilates to begin with as a mixed martial artist. You know, someone who did kickboxing and jujitsu and combined those together. And then practice with other guys my own size, some smaller, some are bigger. And I said, okay, well, I got this lower back injury. What do I do? And I had as a personal trainer at the time, but Pilates brought a whole nother level of understanding. It was like a graduate level understanding that in my field in kinesiology. And it's changed the way I think of all movement. So Pilates really at a master's level will be able to go into yoga and pinpoint all the things that someone's doing in the class where there's either hypermobility or there's some rotation or there's this lack of stability. A good student will be able to pick that off like an instructor, right? So
Right.
therefore it's very specific. The specificity, it's like a Rolex watch. Why is Rolex watch? Why is it's
I
so
don't even know why.
it's that tight.
Yeah, no,
They
so I
spend.
don't even know why I don't like Pilates. How do you actually someone like me for some reason in my head, I'm like, I don't want to do Pilates. I feel like yoga would be so much better. And I feel like it's an integration hybrid. Pilates is more an integration hybrid of different things, an amalgamation of different things. So I definitely will want to take your class next month. I'm hoping that I'm not teaching. I teach a lot because I'm a full-time professor. So I teach a lot of classes. And when you guys have your live and you guys have your classes, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. But usually I'm in 11 to 1:30. I teach classes and PST, and then at night I teach classes as well. So I'm hoping I can take your classes maybe on a weekend or something where I want to be introduced to Pilates. I feel like I'm inspired, and I'm sure everyone in here who has never done Pilates are inspired from this conversation. Um, and I will definitely check it out. Now we talked about yesterday before we end. We talked about yesterday on your plan, and Samantha actually told me,
Yeah.
Michael, Gayle goes to Antarctica because I need that 7 continents. I'm like,
Okay.
Michael, let's
Right.
go.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
When
So
are
part of it,
you
yeah,
planning to go outdoors?
to go to the Antarctica again in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
2 to 3. Yeah. So I'll get an expedition either. If it depends on the people that, and I've been on another podcast and they said, well, how does it do you get people to do trips like Antarctica? Well, it's not that people necessarily come to me off the street, although it's happened before. It's more or less that I work with people in a Pilates or personal training setting outdoors, and they also love the outdoors, and they say, hey, the training you've given me, skills training in the outdoors and being able to move in the woods and stuff with Pilates, and the training has really transformed my life. I want to do a trip, and you know what? I really like you, and I want to do it with you. So that's kind of how it progresses. Now, only the top students end up going on trips with me, but the idea is it's a sail from Ushuaia, Argentina, and a small boat, 60 feet long. It could be bigger depending on the people on board. 8 people is about what we're going to have, unless, again, there's 15 people that want to do it, but I'd say 12 at the most because we want it intimate, right? So we'll sail through that Beagle Channel. We'll stop in Puerto Williams in Chile, and we'll put our passports in. They'll stamp the passports, and then we'll go into the open water, the Drake Passage. So that's once you get in open water, you pick a good weather window. I'm not the skipper. Of course, I pick the skipper, get everything set up, all the travel arrangements. I'll figure those out. But it's a 2.5 to 3 day sail to the Antarctic Peninsula, and we'll make stops on land So we're not crossing Antarctica. We're not doing we're not doing any of that. We basically sail. We'll stop. We'll check out some key spots. Argentina has a certain area of the Antarctic Peninsula. There's different countries that have different areas, and we'll stop at those different areas as part of the experience. We'll be close up with penguin colonies. We'll probably see leopard seals up close. We'll see all different types of whales. I can't guarantee you're going to see big ones. There may be some big ones. There's porpoises. There's all different types of wildlife. There's all different types of seabirds, in addition to penguins. It's like traveling in Antarctica and sailing in Antarctica is like time travel. I don't know if you watched, as a kid, I watched a show called Quantum Leap, where he's like,
yes, I love that. Yeah.
All of a sudden he's over and he's like 1940s and he's in a whatever 30s in a speakeasy and he's like, okay, what do I do? It feels like you're traveling to a different planet at a different time. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced before. And I think part of the draw with the outdoors and the reason why I encourage people to get outside is not just from the appreciation aspect, but I found that adventure of learning about different cultures really adds to you. It's an education, and it becomes part of you, of who you are. So Antarctica is forever who you are. Svalbard, Norway, with face to face with polar bears from a sailboat, mind you, is part of who you are. Those surreal experiences that you only get through adventure, an adventure where you're calculating risk. You're not putting yourself in a situation to where you're going to get your leg taken off by a polar bear or get eaten. You carry a rifle, you do all the things, you're smart, and you respect it, but it's about those experiences that forever change who you are. And I think people need those sort of experiences right now more than ever. And that's why I'm a cheerleader for it, because I've done it. I know what's possible. And frankly, the fitness aspect of it is it sets you up. It's the runway. So when you go on these expeditions, that you're ready physically, mentally, and emotionally. You don't want to get on an expedition and then you're on a sailboat and there's a polar bear and you're like, oh my gosh, you start crying. You just want to, I mean, you can cry from like tears of joy, but you don't want to like cry like too much and not enjoy it.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a panic attack. You want to be able to compose yourself and really soak it in. And that becomes part of your cue. That becomes who you are for the rest of your life. And I think that is a huge value proposition for anyone out there that says, hey, I'm in. I want change. I'm tired of the day-to-day stuff. I need to mix it up. I want to have a life and a body that's fit, that can do anything for life. I'm not on board with the whole mentality that as I get older, I get smaller and weaker and there's more aches and pains. Yeah, there may be a couple aches and pains, but you can remedy those by staying active. And it doesn't have to be a workout, be any movement. Get outside, go for a walk, hang out with your kids, play ball, whatever it is that excites you.
Question though. Yeah. How much would this cost us? Because now you're bringing in these people over here, and now Sia's like, I'm in, and Mike's like, Sia, it's not a boat, like it's not a cruise, it's an adventure. They're all arguing over here, but I want, I want to know, like, how much will this cost us? We're gonna need the budget. We're gonna need the physical fitness, like now.
No, if seriously, if you wanted to do Antarctica, I could pretty easily put that together because I just know the players that sail there, and the budget I'd have to get back to you on, but I can tell you it's a 3-week, 2.5 to 3 week deal, and it will change your life in an amazing way forever. So if you went on a 3-week vacation, how much would that cost? I mean, the big thing is going to be flights to Argentina, Buenos Aires. So you go Buenos Aires to Tierra del Fuego, so Ushuaia. And Ushuaia is just a beautiful city. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Condors and it's crazy. Awesome.
When we're stopping in each of these countries, when we're stopping in each of these countries, we can't go shopping then. That would be my weakness.
You can go. Buenos Aires is a great city to shop, and Ushuaia, frankly, is a great city. It's shopping friendly. There's lots of museums, and
But
You
how am
can
I
go.
going to carry all these things that I'm bringing into the
I mean,
adventure?
there's a certain limit. I mean, the sailboat, just going to give you a heads up. This is not a Carnival cruise where you get on,
Yeah.
or and there's plenty of room and you got a swim pool. You got a small little rack. I mean, it was barely enough. I don't think I can even straighten my legs at 6'3", 250 pounds. I wasn't even able to straighten my legs. So there's a certain
Oh,
there's like a little bunk bed sort of thing built into the ship, and you got little mesh on there, so if the ship tips to one side, you don't roll out of your bunk, being that you're on the top or the bottom. So you're kind of it's an interesting thing. You're in constant movement. This stuff's cool,
oh,
but you get used to it. So I mean, it's all worth the experience. I'd say take the seasickness pills, the Dramamine. Do it even if you sailed before. The Drake Passage is a whole different beast. And again, we're not going out there in the Drake Passage to get people seasick, because that ruins the whole experience. We're picking a good weather window where you can cross the Drake. Again, that's an open body of water from the southern tip of Argentina to the Antarctic Peninsula. That is as calm as possible. That said, even on the Drake Passage, you're still doing this. So you want to get above deck,
yeah.
take those pills, and then drink lots of water because they dehydrate the heck out of you. So I can't answer your question as far as the exact amount, but if you guys are serious about it, I'm serious about. I'm going again, and I'm
Right.
taking people with me, whether it's one person, two, three, four, and then the
Doesn't matter.
skipper will fill up the rest of the ship for me, and then we're gonna go.
Wow.
We're gonna make it happen. But I'll tell you, it's a freaking mate. The penguins are so. They're the most entertaining animals. They're so darn cute. I mean, the one thing at
Yeah.
the zoo, you see them in the zoo, they're kind of muted compared to what
Yeah.
they are in the wild. I mean, they do line up and then they jump in the water, and they're just
Oh
like,
my God.
they're
That
so
would be
darn
so
cool.
amazing.
They're
Wow.
amazing. It's like being thankful to a whole different level. I mean, when I say get outdoors and you're thankful and you're appreciative, and the mental health component of that, these trips are like a mental health boost and a half. As far as
Um,
it's
mental
amazing.
Samantha, schedule on Michael Gale's Pilates class. He doesn't have a date yet. It's going to be next month. We're
Yeah, I
actually
gotta push it out a
over
month.
our hour, so we're going to end it here. We have so much to talk about, and it's such a good adventure. And the takeaway today is make sure that you guys go outside,
Right.
whatever that you're doing. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
takeaway.
Yeah.
And do some researching and try out a class, try out a Pilates. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try
Yeah.
out a Pilates class. I'm going to look for one and I'm going to try it because I love yoga. I'm on level 1 and level 2. I cannot do level 3, let me tell you. Okay. It took me like 6 months just to do the tree post without shaking. So no. But I love yoga. I love vinyasa. I love being out there, and the pandemic did a number on our family. And so we're trying to get out there. But this is so interesting. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, everybody over here, and having a sideline conversation. For those of you who are live, go ahead and hit live. And for those of your team replay, pound team replay. Thank you so much for your time today, Michael. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
Bye,
Great to be on
everybody.
board. Take
All
care.
right. Bye.